Hello and welcome to Last Epoch Build Guides. Bobo here, and today we will be theory crafting a build. Last video I posted of the Void Knight with Devouring Orb. Polymer asked me in the comments if you could use the Raising Strike. I thought about it, and a Raising Strike is a melee attack, so you need to have a weapon, ideally a two-hander. So I created this build, which should theoretically work well. You want a Raising Strike, you want to have the additional charge, and then we're going for melee and void damage. We get double with a two-hander. We get more two-hander weapon damage by 100%. I took more points in damage versus damaged enemies and some cooldown reduction, and the last point I've put in hit damage and kill threshold. This doesn't really do anything. It's the last point, you can put it wherever you want. Then we took Void Cleave. This is what enables our Raising Strike, just because of Obliterator. What this does is make a Raising Strike always crit. So you basically want this node and you want the extra charge. So both Void Cleave and a Raising Strike have two charges. So on bosses you want to use your Void Cleave, make a Raising Strike always crit, and then crit with a Raising Strike, dealing massive damage. The other three abilities, we want one for the trash clear, so I went for Rive. I just took a standard Rive build, but you can change this however you want. Look at how you prefer to have Rive and do it. I went for damage, void damage, we get double the void damage, and we get third strike dealing plus 24 void damage. And then I went for ignite chance and ignite chance. This is basically both travel points, but it enables savagery, which deals 45% more damage versus ignited enemies. And then it's more crit chance versus ignited. Remember, our crit is gonna come from the Void Cleave for a Raising Strike, so Rive is not gonna have that much crit on it. So some extra crit is nice. I went for Anomaly, which is basically for the bubble. We went one travel point, we get the time bubble on cast, we want the bubble to follow us all the time, and then I went for crit for the Rive and some attack speed and some leech and cooldown recovery speed. Basically Anomaly is there for attack speed and crit for Rive, and the cooldown recovery speed is for the Raising Strike and the Void Cleave. And finally I went sigils, got more damage per sigil, sigil summon on kill. We went for the plus 3 fire damage, which then turns into void damage. We got the duration, we got one more sigil, and in the end I went for fate, just so if we get hit, a sigil is consumed and it will heal us, giving us some more survivability. And the last point I put in health restored by fate. Those 2 points you can put wherever you want. Basically we just want the Sigil of Despair, we want the Last Wish, and we want the duration, and the extra sigil might as well. And that's basically the build. For the three, we went Sentinel, we took Vitality, we took Strength and Resistances, reduced damage taken. If you find it hard to survive, you could go for Time and Fate, so you get some health and mana on damage with Rive, but I don't think you need this because in Void Knight you get a lot of leech from Word Eater. But anyway, we go in Paladin. I took Attunement Elemental Resist for the Elemental Resist, some health and Endurance. Obviously first spec 15 points into Paladin. I had a lot of points to spend because this build the planner gives you as if you're level 100, so the last 2 points here, ignore them, just go like this. You just want the Sigil of Hope here, and then the remaining points go in Void Knight. We want void damage, health, void resistance and physical resistance. We want melee void damage, melee leech. This will leech a lot of health back. We want the Void Corruption, crit multiplier per point. This right now is giving us 76, but reasonably it will be around 50 because you're not gonna have all these points to spend. Strength and health. Strength gives buffs up a raising strike. Some vitality here. You can like skip this. We went for 4 points here just so we can travel and we get some increased melee damage, but this is more of a travel. And then we get singular purpose to get increased void damage by 100%. We lose block, but we don't care because we won't be blocking. We're gonna be using a two-hander because of void cleave. 10 points in eternal form, vitality and health. Again, this is not really needed. You can just spend some points here. And then you want increased void damage and movement speed here on Dread. And that's pretty much the build. For weapons, I found this unique weapon. It's really good. It has a lot of melee void damage and increased melee damage. It should work really well. If you don't get this, you can get a two-hander axe or sword. Prioritize melee void damage, all the good stuff, melee damage. And maybe apply some curses on it, and +1 to all attributes is nice as well. All the rest of the gear should be health regen, void damage, melee void damage, and it's pretty straightforward. You're a melee powerhouse. You don't need crit because again we're getting all the crit from Obliterator. We always crit, so you want crit multiplier rather than crit, and increase in melee damage to make your raising strike hit a lot harder. And that's the build. I think it should work really well for an raising strike build. So try it out and good luck.